Good morning, Callahan residents. Here we are again with another one of our virtual cooking classes. My name is Chef Keith. Today we are going to be demonstrating some beef stroganoff recipe from one of our cookbooks. Again, that recipe was submitted by Tom King over at Sun Life, one of my good friends. Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate it. Enjoy cooking your recipes. We're also going to do a Italian-style broccoli. That was from Catherine Richmond from Fortina del Oro out in Yuma. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you submitting that recipe. I hope you enjoy this. And then we're going to finish off with a deluxe coffee cake from Marilyn Prudfit. I hope I said that correctly, from Good Life. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And I picked coffee cake because it is actually one of my favorite desserts now that I eat dessert. Thank you so much. And let's get started. Okay, now we're going to get started with browning our ground beef. Turn my flame down a little bit, and I'll give you a couple of little fun facts about beef stroganoff. Beef stroganoff originated in Russia. It's a Russian dish back in the 1800s. Nowadays it's very versatile, going all the way down to using chicken. We didn't start mixing it up at all until close to the World War II. When the Chinese started cooking with it, or cooking it, I should say. We're going to give that a stir, let that cook just for a minute or so. And then we're going to drain the beef. And while that's draining, we're going to go ahead and get started on our sauce. It is a pretty quick, relatively easy recipe. The original beef stroganoff would be made with beef tips and scrapped meats after the butcher would butcher off his cuts of meats. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and strain off the ground beef. We'll just leave that aside. Now we're going to get started with melting the butter. We're going to be making a roux in our pan. We're going to start with melted butter. Okay, just added my flour. And roux can essentially be made, traditionally it's made with butter and flour, but you can use any animal fat or any vegetable fat. And you would just cook it. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Don't want to burn my roux. And you can do a very white roux, but you do want to cook it. That would be low temp. You just want to cook it long enough to get rid of that flour taste. Personally, most of the dishes that I cook, I go with the nice brown, nutty, almost looks like a peanut butter color to it. You could even cook it even longer. I've worked with chefs when I was at the Point Hilton. They actually would lay it on a sheet pan, cook it, and they would make a black roux. But that is, you got to be very careful with that one because you can easily burn it. Burning it is not considered a black roux. If you burn it, then it is wrong. But it does quite take some time, real low heat, and if you can see that, we're getting close to that kind of peanut butter look to it. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my beef broth. I'm going to change from my spatula to a whisk. Make sure I break that all up and it makes it nice and smooth. Nothing worse than a lumpy gravy, correct? So I'm just going to give that a stir. I'm going to turn my heat back up again. We're just going to let that cook for a minute. I'm going to add a little bit more salt and pepper. going to go ahead and add the cream of mushroom soup that's in the recipe. It was 1 16-ounce can of cream of mushroom soup. The ground beef was 1 pound of ground beef and about 1/2 of an onion diced. Just put that off to the side. If you can see that right there, see how quick that thickened up that ground beef, or that beef broth, I'm sorry. So we're going to go ahead and add the cream of mushroom soup. We're just going to give that a stir to incorporate everything, and then we're going to introduce the beef and onions back to the saute pan. So grab my whisk again. We're going to see if we can get 5 pounds of stuff, or 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. Let's see how this goes. Oh, don't want to forget the sour cream. I'm going to reserve a little bit for garnish. Turn down my heat a little. Woo, we're coming pretty close there. Let me get this out of the way. I think we're going to make it. Okay, I got all that mixed up. It has the right look, texture, tastes great. I paused the camera for a minute while I finished up, so welcome back. We're going to go ahead. I pre-cooked the noodles, as the book says. You can serve this over noodles, rice, whatever you'd like. Traditionally, they did serve it over in rice. So I'm going to go ahead, and for many years, I always thought that it was served with noodles. But after a little bit of research, that wasn't how they served it. They did serve it with rice. Just going to set that aside, put a couple of ladles on the top of these egg noodles. That's personally how I do like mine. Set that aside. And then I'm going to garnish mine with some fresh chopped parsley and a little bit of sauteed mushrooms. So we'll go ahead and turn that on. A little bit of fresh chopped parsley. You could garnish this with some Swiss cheese, or while you're cooking it, add some Swiss cheese. It adds a little bit of flavor to it and some texture to it. Makes it nice and creamy and gooey. But again, you can do it 1,000 different ways. It's up to you. Remember, recipes are just a staple to kind of get you started or give you an idea. I always recommend people to make it their own. Add the stuff that you enjoy. Just going to give that a quick saute, a little bit of salt and pepper. Just a touch more oil. I'm excited to try the next recipe. I've never done them, even being Italian. It's an Italian broccoli. I've never done a recipe similar to this one. I've done other versions of it. It's a little tomato sauce. I'm going to garnish with some fresh diced tomatoes. I thought that even though this being a Russian dish, I just thought the broccoli would be a nice touch. It doesn't take very long. I like to leave my mushrooms a little al dente. Gives a nice little texture to it. As you can see, it gives a nice little color. If you don't like mushrooms, you don't have to do this part. And if you don't like mushrooms, you could actually use cream of chicken soup to substitute for the cream of mushroom. But then it wouldn't be stroganoff originally. Like I said, you can add chicken instead of ground beef, or beef pieces, chicken pieces. Say you have a rotisserie chicken left over from the night before. You can whip this together real quick and enjoy. Thank you so much, and we will be back with the Italian broccoli. Welcome back, everybody. Now we're going to go ahead and step into the vegetable for the side for the beef stroganoff. That is provided by Catherine Richmond again. We're going to go ahead and get started with tomato sauce. Let me see. 1/4 cup of canned tomato sauce. Half a teaspoon of oregano leaves, and 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm just going to turn my temperature up here for a second, and then once that all comes to a bubble, we're going to go ahead and pour it over. I already went ahead and blanched my broccoli, and the blanching procedure is bring your water to a boil, add a couple tablespoons of salt, and then you would add your fresh broccoli to it. In another vessel, you would have ice water and put it in an ice bath. And that's going to keep your nice bright green broccoli. In this case, I wanted to go ahead and start it with hot, so I did not do my ice bath. Okay, we're already at the boil. I'm going to add my vinegar. Pretty simple, relatively easy recipe. I'm going to let that butter melt. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and garnish this with a little bit of diced tomatoes. I just have a Roma tomato here. I'm going to go ahead and take the seeds out. Go ahead and put this on the plate. That's how quick and easy this recipe is. Very delicious. The tomatoes complement the broccoli very well. That vinegar just gives it a little bit of a bite, a little punch. And then we're going to garnish this with a little bit of Parmesan cheese and fresh diced tomatoes. And there we go, we have the finished products. And there you have it. That's our Italian style broccoli with beef stroganoff. And next up, we're going to go ahead and do the Deluxe coffee cake. And we'll see you in just a bit. Alright guys, now we're going to go ahead and get started in the dessert portion of this menu. This recipe was provided by Marilyn Prodfit from Good Life. Deluxe coffee cake. We're going to start with a 1/2 cup of Wesson oil. And then we got a 1/2 cup of unsweetened applesauce, and you could probably go with the no cinnamon, because this recipe does call for some cinnamon there, unless you really enjoy cinnamon. And then we're going to go ahead and add the sugar. I believe it's 1 cup of sugar. And 2 eggs. Okay, we're going to go ahead and beat this 4 to 5 minutes until it's nice and creamy. Okay. Now our mixture is nice and creamy. It's been about 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and add the milk and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Whoa, a little extra vanilla today. Okay, we're going to mix that again. Then we're going to go ahead and add our dry ingredients. Here's our, I believe it's 3 cups of flour. The baking soda, or baking powder, I'm sorry. And just a little bit of salt. We're going to go ahead and get that mixed up. Okay, now that we have this all mixed up, left it just slightly lumpy, kind of like a pancake batter. I leave a little bit of lumps in there. Works with kind of the fluffiness of the dessert. Now we're going to go ahead in this bowl. We're going to pre-mix our brown sugar, our nuts. I went ahead and used peanuts. You could use anything you'd like. Personally, I don't like walnuts or pecans, so I went ahead and used some peanuts. A little bit of cinnamon there. You see, that's 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I'm just going to mix this up so it evenly spreads throughout the baking dish. This is the filling portion of the coffee cake. Okay. We're going to go ahead and spread part of this. Oh, we're going to make sure you spray your baking pan. It does call for a 9 by 13. I'll go ahead and spray my baking pan. We're going to put half of this mixture in now, and then we're going to put the filling in. We'll put the other half in, and then we're going to go ahead and pop it in the oven. Okay, that's about half of that mixture. We're just going to spread this out evenly. Get it into the corners. Okay. I'm going to give it. Now we're just going to get in there with our hands, sprinkle some of this filling inside. You can go pretty generous if you'd like. There we go. And we're going to save the remainder. A little more right inside there. And now we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the mix. And we're going to pop it in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes at 375 degrees. Okay, we're just going to go again corner to corner. And we're going to go ahead and finish it off with the rest of the topping or filling. And then we're going to pour some melted butter over it, throw it in the oven 30 to 35 minutes at 375 degrees. We're going to let this cook and we'll be right back with you. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go ahead. It's been about 30 minutes. I'm going to get the coffee cake out of the oven. Turned out beautifully. Really nice crust. I'm going to put a little bit of melted butter right over the top. A little flavor, a little shine. So when you serve that up to your guests, it'll look real good and have a nice little butter flavor on top there. Okay, folks, I let it rest about 15 minutes till it was cool enough to handle. We're going to go ahead and serve this up. Nice big chunk of coffee cake there. Nothing better than a little drizzle of some caramel on there. And there you have it, your coffee cake served up with your favorite coffee. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next video.